Board absent. Mr. Nicholson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
So I want to thank everyone tonight and the mayor, Dr. Tutwiler, everyone involved in helping facilitate this subcommittee meeting tonight for athletics. Tonight I'm presenting. I know winter, sports in the city of Lynn are very important. As you may know, I've been contacted by numerous coaches, students, parents. It's been really, a difficult decision to find out that the canceling had occurred. I want to also put in the minds of everyone that I do respect our public health director, the department, and what state of position we're in as a city. Respectively, I understand the pandemic has caused tremendous impacts across the board. But myself and a lot of folks that have reached out, my constituents, the decision to cancel, I do not agree with. And for the reason of the process that I think had occurred, we can't shut down. We need to take a look at this. And I think the purpose of tonight is to re-examine, not to say we're going to reopen right now, but to reverse to a delay. At least at a delay, we will be able to facilitate the process. Because I believe during our last meeting in athletics, there were some new MIA modifications that we were going to explore. Coaches, the ADs came and presented. There was a lot of different, pretty proactive dialogue that I heard that night. And I know the factors, our rates as our respectfully mayor, you did report that we were going to see we've seen an uptick, and we understand that. But the process of just going from right to straight to cancel is something that I think I cannot agree with. And I say from the many voices that reached out to me, particularly Coach Anderson. And Tony Anderson is a kid from Lynn who played at Memphis, became a professional athlete, and he made it out by sports, winter sports. And a lot of kids do rely on sports, not just as a game, but this is what they do to survive social emotionally. This is a time in our life right now. This pandemic has impacted these kids in a whole nother way. I've had kids break it down to me and losing opportunities that was caused by this canceling. But I think my proposal, I'm not going to put a proposal right off the bat, but I do want to see what Member Nicholson has to say about going from being canceled to delay. And also, hopefully, we can have a deeper conversation and the committee as a whole. I think we prematurely made a decision to cancel. I don't think that was the right decision. I think we should have delayed it. And just to give, everyone across the state is doing it differently. So there's as you know, Everett has a way of doing it. Lowell did it a different way. Everyone has a different way of handling this, and we get it. But there's that big impact that I think being an athlete in Lynn is different. So again, my request is to go to delay. Member Nicholson.
Thank you, Member Castellanos. Thank you for sharing that. I also have heard from a tremendous community of athletes, athletic supporters, and really appreciate the feedback that we've gone. And I totally 100% agree about the importance of sports. Sports has played a huge role in my career, in my life, and I've been a huge advocate of sports, athletics in Lynn, and work on the wrestling team, the girls lacrosse program, things like that. And I know that particularly in a time like this, it gives students a way to come together. It gives students hope. It gives students an opportunity to learn those lessons that we know are so important as part of their education, that are on the court, on the field, in the rink, and really just an important part of education as anything else, in my opinion. And I also sort of share Member Castellanos the reflection that you offered about the severity of the circumstances that we face from a public health perspective and the deep respect that I have for the city's public health advisors and the people that are helping us make these decisions. And so I really do appreciate that. I'm definitely looking forward to what my colleagues have to say, Dr. Tutwiler, as well as the mayor. But it does seem like, the things are changing rapidly, right? The vaccine's starting to come. The numbers are changing a lot. We're potentially seeing now the after effects still of the Thanksgiving holiday. So there could be reason to believe that things could change, even if it doesn't appear likely. But I think what would be great, and my sense is that maybe there was some pressure to feel like the decision needed to be made because the season was scheduled to start, and so sort of share your inclination to see, well, can we pause on the idea of canceling the season outright and see how the ask for an opportunity to review specific proposals about what athletics would look like and review those in the context of what new data would look like in the coming weeks, potentially and informed by like what you said with the changing MIAA guidance, more information from what other communities are doing, because I think as I said last time, and I think a lot of my colleagues would agree, if there is a way to salvage a season safely, if there's a way to do it, whether it's a shortened season and whether it's a modified version of whatever it is that we're used to, then we would really love to see that happen. So thank you, Member Castellanos.
Thank you, Jared. Attorney Sadoway, please.
Thank you. I just want to clarify for the audience and those that we did not vote to cancel winter sports. That's not something that the school committee did. So I don't know if you incorrectly stated that, but we didn't have a vote on winter sports. What took place was there were rules that came down by the MIAA, I believe in partnership with DESE, that required the approval of the local Board of Health. And that's what took place. The Board of Health, like you said, not based off of our denial or cancellation of winter sports, but someone outside of a political position, and with data and information made the determination to not agree that at this point winter sports would be a good thing to do. I don't recall in that letter that we all received that was something that was an indefinite response to our request for winter sports to move forward. So I don't think we're going to be undoing anything, and I don't believe we can vote on anything to make someone outside of the school department to do something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we can order the director of public health to change her mind. So, obviously sports are important. We see the impact that it's having on kids. The interactions, the mentorship, just the team aspect of that sport, or if it's not a team sport, the thought process behind it, the fun, all that stuff's important. But we have to make sure that we're making factual statements when we're talking about the process that took place. I think that the athletic directors came. They presented what they believed that could be done in order for the winter sports to take place. They suggested that we do all away games because within the city we have the high rates. But then I believe we came to the conclusion that there was no guarantee that another city or town would let us in to do all the away sports. So those could have been canceled. So, there were many things that I think we still have to grasp and find out exactly what the plan is. And then I don't believe that we're precluded from going back to the Board of Health and seeking approval at a later time. But we as a committee did not cancel winter sports.
Member Gailey?
Well, I just want to know, I'm in total agreement of having some form of winter sport. The director did not just all of a sudden randomly come up with numbers and say, hey, we're going to shut down winter sports if it wasn't necessary. If she didn't deem it necessary, she's monitoring the numbers. She knows the numbers better than I do. And she made that recommendation. But I'm very willing to say, let's wait till after December, going into January. It really looks hopeful about maybe not right away the numbers, but as we go to February, end of January, February, we could have a shortened season or whatever. But the numbers is what concerns me. And I don't think that enough people realize that these numbers are not just adults. So I'm going to go to Dr. Tutwiler. And do you know how many students in Lynn Public Schools and the grade levels have?
I do. Since November 13th, there are approximately 100 high school students who contracted the virus, and in just this week, 25. So it is not isolated to adults.
Okay.
I also have some numbers related to the ages of the cases from December 3rd till December 10th.
Okay.
0 to 9 was 91 positive cases, age 0 to 9. 10 to 19 was 122 positive cases. 20 to 29 was 188 cases. And 30 to 39 was 178 cases. But 0 to 9, I guess that was 91, and 10 to 19 was 122 new cases. That was between December 3rd and December 10th.
Do we know how many of those cases those kids were hospitalized?
That's the data in terms of who was positive.
Okay.
And just a couple of other numbers that might be helpful. As of today, we have 8,958 new cases. The positivity rate is 12.27%, 89.19 cases per 100,000. And I'll just go through a few numbers because I think it's important as we discuss this, because this is a really challenging time and challenging decisions in terms of what the impacts are across the board, no matter what ends up happening. But in terms of the numbers, and I'll just go through the Northeast Conference, at least what I have for numbers. Total case count in Lynn, 8,958. Total case count in Beverly, 1,160. Total case count in Danvers, 1,177. Total case count in Gloucester, 555. Total case count in Marblehead, 422. Total case count in Peabody, 2,231. Total case count in Salem, 1,615. Total case counts in Saugus, 1,311. Total case count in Swampscott is 297. Total case count in Winthrop is 872. Again, the total case count in Lynn is 8,958. Since November 18th, we've had over 2,000 new cases. And if you look at those numbers, where other than Peabody, where our caseload in the last almost 3 weeks is higher than the total caseload for almost every other community since the beginning of the pandemic.
So, can I just finish talk? Thank you for those.
Member Gailey.
So what happens if we were back in school, Dr. Tutwiler, and when you get back to school and you find out that of those cases that is up to 19, that there's several cases at classical, several cases at tech, and several cases at English. What's the protocol if COVID-19 is in the schools?
So in a case where let's say we were hybrid, if that's what the theoretical example that you're talking about, I mean, we would engage with the contact tracing protocol, and all of the students who or individuals, students or faculty who were identified as within 6 feet for, a total of 15 minutes. Does not have to be consecutive minutes. Those folks would have to quarantine and get tested. And if it is a significant number of people, then you would probably be looking at, you could be looking at shifting back to full remote if you were in hybrid at the time.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to know what you're going to recommend, Dr. Tawala, because I don't mind them going back to sports in January, but I like the numbers to be a little lower so that I know they're going to be safe.
May I, Brian? Member Castellanos?
Dr. Tawala, please.
Yeah, I support what Member Castellanos has put on the table, which feels to me like keeping the door open, so to speak, keeping the option open to have another conversation. I'm with Member Satterwhite, who says that there's not been a school committee vote. The Board of Health has spoken, and I think we need to listen. The numbers, as the mayor just laid out, are real, and they're real scary, and they do involve school-age students. And so we're in the midst of a surge, and the Public Health Authority in the city of Lynn has spoken, and we need to respect that. But that doesn't mean that it has to be to close it out altogether. It means let's give it some time. As many districts, Mayor just mentioned Salem. Salem has just decided to delay the start of their winter sports. A number of school districts are considering that option right now, waiting until after the holidays to see where they are. Some have already voted to start their winter sports season after the holidays, sometime after the week of the 4th of January. So I think that's the right thing to do. And I would say, as Member Nicholson pointed out, this continues to be a rapidly evolving situation. The governor, not but 2 days ago, rolled back the reopening of the state to phase 3, step 1. Back in August or late summer, there was EEA guidance around sports related to phase 3, step 1. I'm told that guidance will be updated. I thought it was supposed to come out today. I've not seen it. But I don't think there's any harm and a ton of benefit in having the conversation, soliciting the input of the Board of Health again on the other side of the holiday season.
Member Capola, please.
Dr. Tutwiler, some time ago you talked about, I think, is it mandatory that everybody have the flu shot to return to school? And you were telling us the numbers, I think they were only at 23%. I like what Mr. Castellanos was saying. Let's not close the door. Let's take a look after the holidays of what's happening. But I'd like to let the coaches know and the athletes know that if something came up, that these kids should be aware that they do have to have flu shots. So, wondering, did you hear any new numbers of how many? Okay.
Yeah, last I checked, which was last week, we're up around or just over 30%. It's still pretty low. And so, as a reminder, and there's been lots of outreach by the schools. I've done some calls driving people to where they can have this done quickly and easily. All school-age students by state mandate are supposed to receive a flu shot by the end of this month.
Could you mention some of those places where they can go to get this? And is it any of our nurses in the schools giving them?
Our nurses do not administer a flu shot. My understanding is that stopped some time ago because of challenges related to storage. They've got to be kept in a refrigerated, at a certain temperature receptacle. But just about all of the CVS stores in Lynn, Walgreens, my own son had it done at CVS. You walk right in, there's a little bit of paperwork and you'll have your shot and you're on your way. All of this with all the addresses, hours, and contact information can be found on the Lynn Public Schools home site.
Member Nicholson, did you have Attorney Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you, Member Castellanos. Just briefly, I just wanted to say that I think we're all on the same page as to the process that specifically to the process that Attorney Satterwhite had mentioned about the fact that this isn't as it's been relayed to us, and we understand that there has been sort of a lot of shifting guidance about the process here. But as the language that we've reviewed makes it pretty clear that we would need to have the Board of Health's approval to do this. And so that what Attorney Satterwhite said about his understanding of the process is mine as well. I do also think we're headed toward consensus about sort of what might be a next step here. But I also I think if the mayor wanted to weigh in, it would be great to hear his thoughts as well.
I think you're right. It's the Board of Health Director has the decision that's made related to this. I think ultimately, based on the MIAA and the EEA, if there is a consensus to move forward and revisit this after the holidays, I would just say that would include discussions, and I'm sure that would be part of what we're talking about, discussions and information related to the Director of Health, who's based her decisions on the data and the reality of the totality of the situation that we're facing as a community. So I think that would be an important piece of it, obviously, as the information comes in. I think it's helpful for the committee to continue to be as updated and informed as possible on the numbers and the reality of what's going on every day or every week at least. That information is clearly available. So if you haven't had a chance to get it, I think it's important as this discussion goes on related to that, that's part of what we as a committee take a look at. And then I think also have a chance to work with the Director of Health on what happens after. Again, it seems like there's a consensus here to delay, and then it would be part of those discussions. We would be looking at the totality of the situation.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to add too, another reality is the disparity of you got kids playing basketball already in the city. I guess when we look at the private institutions in our city, that's been highlighted by many folks at the ground level that I meet with. That's something that is really concerning, not just for myself, but I know the coaches. And we understand that the Catholic schools, the private schools are operating under different guidelines. But to put it simply, just because you can go to a private school allows you access to play sports, to access to equity, but public school kids don't. So I just think that reality is a concern. So we talk numbers. I'm very familiar with numbers. And I actually familiarize myself with the situation very closely. And I just respectfully, out of just and the consensus to delay, I think the formal canceling caused a lot of harm emotionally right off the bat. So I think that's something that really needs to be taken into consideration and not to just keep people on suspense. And that's why I know, I remember Saturday did say that we can't, because the process, we can't formally request a delay, but I want to know if that's possible to request that as a school committee, just to show, I think that's important to show our support to our constituents. And I'm willing to put a vote. I don't know if that's even a possibility. Attorney Myhouse, is that something that is possible?
If I can clarify, I didn't say that as a body we can tell Dr. Tutwiler to go back to the Board of Health to ask for a determination at a later time. I don't think that that's what I said was we didn't cancel the sports. We were required to get approval from the Board of Health, and she declined to give it to us, and she provided data, the whole thing that we're hearing as a nation is that we need to listen to our scientists and our medical professionals when it comes to COVID. And we're doing this on the local level, and that's the MIA agreeing that these steps are important. Rely on the people that have the knowledge. So I think the MIAA did that. We talked to Dr. Tutwiler about seeing what needed to be done next in order for us to see if we can approve this. And he went to the Board of Health. She declined to give her authorization, which stopped us from doing anything. So we can, as a body, say, yes, Dr. Tutwiler, go back at a later time and seek approval and then move forward with the sports. I believe we can do that as a school committee.
Thank you, Jason. I want to add too, just if we do make that request, I would love to have, so Dr. Tutwiler, I would like to have our coaches involved in this meeting, in this due process. I think that's in hopes of transparency. I would love to have the folks who are on the ground level, who this has really impacted, part of that process. That's what really my aim and focus is. And I'm very passionate about this topic. And I just want our coaches and our student athletes to know that there are support mechanisms in place to understand that what they're going through is definitely a tremendous impact. And we also need to understand, like you said, attorneys, this is a public health concern, and we're looking at the data, we're working with everybody. But Attorney John, my host.
Hello.
Hi, Attorney
Am I unmuted?
We can hear you.
So I'm sorry. Okay. You are totally within your purview to make a motion for this matter to be reconsidered after the holiday break. So if that's your question, absolutely you have the authority to do that.
So,
Brian, the only thing that I think that we're going to have a hard time is, so we've been on the school committee, I think going on 4 years now, and having the coaches come in and actually speak was something that I don't think we've ever had before. So I'd love to see more of that, but I don't think that we can obligate the Board of Health to work with Lynn Public Schools directors or sports people. I think that Dr. Tutwiler keeps his door open to them to come and speak, and that's a good thing. But I don't think that we have the authority to rule tonight that the Board of Health work with the athletic directors in Lynn Public Schools. Is that correct, John?
I agree with that statement, yeah.
Okay.
The proper party that should be working with the Board of Health would be the superintendent.
thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to re-examine, review with the Board of Health's decision to cancel winter sports in review by Dr. Tutwiler. After John,
can I give a suggestion on how it should be worded?
Yeah,
Jared had a question.
Okay.
Sorry, Member Gately, my apology.
No, Jared wants to speak.
Oh, Jared, Member Nicholson.
Thank you. No, I was actually going to suggest some wording, but so we can get to that in a minute. I also wanted to say, I agree with you about the inequity of looking at what's happening with the private school in the city, and it's obviously it's frustrating, and it's also it's not just sports, right? It's an issue in the way that we're dealing with public education right now. That there's been uneven opportunity, and I think as a district we're doing the best we can to try to rectify that, because universal public education should mean that everybody has access to the opportunity for public education. Would it be helpful to try to suggest a wording for a motion, Member Castellanos?
Please, Attorney Nicholson.
So maybe we can request that the Board of Health revisit its decision regarding the winter 2020-2021 athletic season in light of the December data, and that they and also to give them an opportunity to review the modified protocol suggested by the athletic directors and coaches through Dr. Tutwiler.
Can I suggest something?
Two. Let's go.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me.
Well, because I feel as though we're going directly. to the Board of Health. I think that what we have to the wording needs to be that we are asking Dr. Tutwiler to go to the Board of Health to give a determination with regards to winter sports at a particular time, because I feel as though what we're doing is we're telling the Board of Health what to do, which I believe is out of our purview.
Well, so just Attorney Sauer, we're just requesting it. There's nothing in the resolution that would be in order or telling someone what to do. It's just we're allowed to communicate with other.
Of course we are. Yes, yes. But I thought that the proper procedure would be Dr. Tutwiler seeking that determination in order for him to come back to us to then vote on the winter sports at a later time.
Right. So that's why through Dr. Tutwiler at the end there. Yeah.
Attorney Nichols, you want to just before I go on the record, you want to?
Yeah. Does that work? Does that make sense, Attorney Satterwhite?
I still think that we have to start with instead of it being at the end. I think it should be at the beginning, that we're authorizing Dr. Tutwiler to work with Lynn's Board of Health to determine whether winter sports can move forward by a certain particular, after the December data is received. I think that would be, again, it's you and I that are going back and forth, but maybe John can jump in and say which one he would prefer.
Attorney Myhouse, what's the, Donna, Member Coppola, you gonna?
No, I'm sorry. I was just hoping that you all would refer to our school attorney, John Myhouse. So that's all my motion was about there.
Under the MIAA procedures, there has to be an affirmative vote on the part of the school committee to participate in winter athletics. But the form of the motion is to request the Board of Health to make a determination in their whether in fact it's safe to go forward with winter sports. And after that determination by the Board of Health, would come back to you as members of the school committee to take an affirmative or negative vote based on that recommendation. I've discussed this with the executive director at the MIAA this past week, and they're very ambivalent insofar as what process should be utilized. There's no question that the school committee has the authority to take a vote to determine whether winter sports should be played, yes or no. But it's within the information and the documents that the MIAA has offered. It is also subject to the recommendation of the Board of Health. So it's a two-pronged attack. One is a vote by your board. The second is a health director going along with it. So I think the motion made by Mr. Nicholson is an appropriate motion.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Miles.
So, yes, I'm going to make the Mazes. Yeah, anymore. You all set?
Does that work for you, Attorney Satterwhite?
I'm fine with it. I'm not on the committee, but
it'll come to you.
Again, I think it's a similar statement, just said different ways.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You made the motion. There's only two of you, so Brian would second it, and then they just do roll call.
Yeah. So you want Attorney Nicholson? You want to just? Go.
Yeah. But hopefully, I can recall exactly what I said. But the motion would be to request the Board of Health of the City of Lynn to revisit the decision as to whether to conduct the athletic season of winter 2021, 2020-2021 in light of the December data and upon review of the modifications submitted by the athletic directors and coaches through Dr. Tutwiler.
Second.
Roll call.
Ian? You're on mute.
Okay, it happened without me doing anything. Okay. Mr. Cassianis,
Yes.
and Mr. Ford absent. Mr. Nicholson,
Yes.
and is this motion recommended to the full committee?
To the full committee, yes, please.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Now,
Yes,
Brian?
Motion to adjourn. Sorry.
Second.
I think you need roll call on that too.
really? Roll call to adjourn. Mr. Cassianis,
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson,
Yes.
motion passed.
So it's after 7 o'clock. We are ready to go into the full meeting. I think all members are here. Before we do that, I would ask that Nan, you confirm all the members of the committee as well as persons anticipated on the agenda as present and that can hear us.
Okay, Mr. Cassianis,
Present.
Ms. Capola,
Present.
Mr. Ford absent. Yes, he's absent, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Gately,
Present.
Mr. Nicholson,
Present.
Mr. Satterwhite,
I'm here, present.
Mayor McGee.
Present.
Okay, and observing Superintendent Tutwiler,
Present.
Deputy Superintendent Powers,
Present.
Deputy Superintendent Ruggiero,
Present.
Business Administrator McHugh,
Present.
Secretary of School Committee Mary Jules,
Present.
Attorney Nyhouse,
Present.
and Donnie Hussey out there. Okay, and we have a student member, Kathleen Mannion. A student advisor, Kathleen Mannion. She's here? I saw her.
Yeah, on mute.
Okay,
Kat, just unmute and say present.
that's all right, I got her.
Present.
Thank you.
She's good.
Thank you, Nan. Again,
Okay,
this is Mayor Tom McGee, and I'd like to say good evening and thank you for joining us. This open meeting of the Lynn School Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth, which is due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting on the city website, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Lynn School Department is convening by telephone conference via video conference. The Zoom platform as posted on the city's website, on Lynn Public School, and on the Lynn Public Schools website. Additionally, this meeting can be seen on the local cable channels, Channel 3 for Comcast and Channel 37 for Verizon. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other people may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. We are now turning to the first, before we turn to the first item on the agenda, I'd like to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. As chairman, I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motions. I'd like you to hold all your comments until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Members wish to engage in the discussion with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourselves. Finally, each of the votes taken will be taken and conducted by a roll call. With that, I would ask that you stand, and I know that Don Husty is There is a flag that is available in the meeting room, and it's on the video. I'd ask you to join me in a salute to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'd ask that you remain standing, that we have a moment of silence for those who in memoriam. For Al Martin, who was a retired painter, glazer, passed away on November 1st of 2020. And Margaret Dennis, a paraprofessional who passed away in November of 2020. I'd ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. First on the agenda is the minutes. We're looking for a motion to accept the minutes from the meetings of the Policy Subcommittee of October 29th, the Personnel Subcommittee meeting on October 29th, and the 16th regular meeting and executive session on October 29th.
So moved.
So motion is moved to accept the meeting for those three. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Requires a roll call.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola? Ms. Capola? Ms. Capola? I see her. I don't hear her.
Saying yes.
Okay, got it.
She's saying yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Mr. Ford absent. Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite? Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Yes. And Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Yes. Passed.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, Dr. Tutwiler and Shannon Gardner, early college update. You're muted, Dr. Tutwiler.
Muted. I am muted. I am muted.
Welcome back.
I hear that in my dreams. You are muted.
We all do.
Joined this evening by Shannon Gardner, who's Assistant Director of Curriculum for Humanities, but also oversees the Early College Initiative, and Erica Giampetro, who's a former colleague of mine from the Boston Public Schools, but currently working with Empower Schools, which has a heavy focus on the Early College Initiative. What we wanted to do today, and I believe you've already received the slides, is share with you what we think is a pretty innovative idea related to early college. You'll recall last year, one of the district improvement goals was to refine the 9 to 12 experience. And one of the action items under that goal was to expand early college. This, what you're about to hear about, was not one of the things that we were thinking about, but some people talk about this idea of COVID blessings. There's some things that we improved upon, some things that we've added to our repertoire, gotten better at, or simply improved on over the course of this pandemic. And I think this idea is one of those. It is a COVID blessing. We were contacted by the Fifth Smith Family Foundation this summer with this idea. We've taken a deep dive to understand it better. And now we think that this could be a really innovative and promising feature of our early college program. And so Shannon or Erica, I gave you both co-host rights. I don't know which one of you wants to take the wheel in terms of the presentation. I have it also. I'm happy to share my screen. It's up to you.
Okay, I'll start out and then share my screen, and then Erica will take over and we'll share the slides. I want to thank you for the chance to share the information tonight regarding the Smith Family Foundation grant that we've applied for. At the outset, I want to share with you that we have 130 students taking early college classes this this fall during the school day, and we expect we'll have a similar number of students in the spring. These programs have continued during the pandemic through the patience, hard work, and leadership of staff and faculty at LPS, NSCC, and SSU, who remain committed to making these opportunities possible for our students. As Dr. Tutwiler stated, this is one of the COVID blessings. At the time the Smith family approached us with this grant, several articles were coming out in publications such as the New York Times, telling the story of dropping college enrollments across the country. Some of the hardest hit students are marginalized students, and for many of those students, it's pretty serious. It's not a gap year, it's a true loss. With that knowledge, we are very interested in a 13th year program that would allow cohorts of our students to experience that first year of college in a supported way. I also want to introduce my perspective on my co-presenter, Erica Giampetro. She is a consultant with Empower Schools, who has been working with me weekly for the last 2 months. I'm very happy to have gotten to work with her and learn from her. She was a former business manager for Boston Public Schools, and she's been a wonderful partner to work with as we thought through this application and its implication for the years to come. So I'd like to invite Erica now to begin our presentation. If I could just get it up there on the screen.
Great. Shannon, I'll start talking and the slides will come up soon, I'm sure.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the school committee and Superintendent Tutwiler. Like Shannon and the superintendent said, my name is Erica Giampietro, and I'm pleased to be joining you tonight to talk about this initiative and its potential in Lynn. I thought I'd start by noting that I've been working with Shannon, like she said, and with the Lynn team for the past several months as a consultant. And it's been such a refreshing and rewarding experience to work with this team. Every conversation is student first and grounded in real, authentic, and deep desire on behalf of this team to be innovative and bold to support students now during the present COVID reality and beyond. So like Shannon said, I thought I'd start briefly by describing the program sort of broadly and introduce you to what it is and why we think it's exciting. And then Shannon will bring in more detail on the specifics here in Lynn. So first, a bit of background on the Early College Promise. The goal of this program is to prepare students for success beyond high school. We know that today's world is no longer one where passing MCAS and getting a high school diploma is enough to guarantee students a good job with family-sustaining wages. And this program is a chance to propel students forward and redefine the role of a high school. It is a one-year extension of successful early college programming in Massachusetts. And in a moment, Shannon will talk about this grant opportunity, which has been made through the generosity of the Smith Family Foundation. The grant is only open to a select number of districts, in particular 4, with current early college programming, because a 5th-year program can only be successful if it rests on a robust and effective 9 through 12 program. So the way this works is that students defer their high school diploma for a year to continue to benefit from the high school supports while enrolling in a full or nearly full schedule of college coursework. The way you implement this is that you modify graduation requirements for students who opt into the program. Graduation requirements beyond the MCAS are determined locally, so this is within your authority to do. And in this way, the student can stay on as a high school student and continue to benefit from the supports and the relationships that they have at the high school while taking part in the full college experience. And this is a way of strengthening that bridge from high school to college. And eventually, this will enable students to earn a full associate's degree or 60 transferable credits towards a bachelor's degree at no cost to them. And I say eventually because a program this robust will take time to build, but you're coming into this at the right time to build it, which is while you're also deepening your 9 through 12 early college experience anyway. The program also accelerates a student's timeline into the workforce. It gets students into jobs and good jobs in an accelerated fashion. And as you know, good first jobs have a compounding effect over working lives. This program is modeled after successful programs nationally and a pilot that's happening this current school year in Springfield. In Michigan, they call this early middle college, and they have over 18,000 students and 170 programs, where about half of the early college students there choose to stay on for a fifth year. In North Carolina, they have 132 what they call cooperative innovative high schools, and this is their term for early college high schools. And they're reaching nearly 30,000 students, most of them offering a fifth year. These North Carolina programs are the subject of a nationally recognized randomized control trial study that found that participating students from low-income backgrounds are twice as likely to go on to graduate from a 2 or a 4-year college than their identical colleagues who lost a lottery and didn't gain admission to their early college program. So there's good research base behind this to suggest that this works. And lastly, this can become financially self-sustaining through Chapter 70 funding. Students stay on at the high school, which brings in an extra year of Chapter 70 funding. And in the case of Lynn, this is sufficient to support the costs of that year of school. I'll go on to the next slide. I also want to comment on the Early College Promise and our current context. This is a program that's well suited to respond to the pandemic and to the ongoing work of racial equity. On the pandemic, like Shannon and the superintendent noted, this fall, first-time enrollments in Massachusetts public colleges and universities declined significantly over previous years. And in survey after survey, families indicate that cost is the primary reason why their college plans have changed. And there's little reason to believe that next year will look much different for many families. The Early College Promise program erases or significantly reduces the cost burden of college, reducing the effect that COVID is having on too many college plans. And on racial equity, we know that college is critical for life outcomes and earnings outcomes. And we know that Black and Latinx students are not accessing and not completing college at the same rates as their peers. In fact, white students are 3 times more likely than Black and Latinx students to graduate from college. Early college is intended and designed to close those gaps, as I know you all know, because you've already made investments in early college. Early college programs enroll a majority of Black and Latinx students, and data is showing strong early results. This summer, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education published a study of the emerging outcomes for Massachusetts-specific early college programs. Early college graduates attend college at a rate 20 percentage points higher than their school and their state peers. And that performance is even more pronounced for students of color. A 38 percentage point difference for Black early college grads and a 24 percentage point difference for Latinx grads. And so before I transition to Shannon, I thought I'd also briefly raise a few questions that would be on my mind if I were in your seat. Can students who opt into the 5th year program walk with their class at graduation at the end of 12th grade? Yes, they can. If circumstances change for a student during their 5th year, can they still get their high school diploma? Yes, they can. And this is something that we would sort of work into the way we define these graduation requirements. Are the courses transferable to other institutions of higher education? Yes, early college programs focus on courses that are part of the mass transfer program. You may also be wondering, is the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education supportive of this work? And will a 5th year program affect our 4-year graduation rate? And for this question, I thought I'd read a short comment from Commissioner Riley's office that was prepared actually for this meeting tonight. And here's what it says. The commissioner and his early college team at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education are champions of early college. Early college is showing promising results, and they agree that extending the program into a 5th year through the Early College Promise has significant potential to deepen outcomes for more students and is worth pursuing. The commissioner also understands the potential negative impact on reported 4-year graduation rates that Early College Promise may have, even as it is likely to increase ultimate high school graduation rates and college graduation rates. As such, a team at DESE is currently exploring various ways to mitigate the potential negative impact. The commissioner and his early college team are committed to pursuing a timely solution and encourage districts involved in the current planning process through the Smith Family Foundation, which is you, not to let this stop them from continuing to plan for a pilot launch in September of 21. So that was an overview of the Early College Promise program broadly, and now I'll turn to Shannon for more of the Lynn specifics.
So, I just want to let you know just about the grant opportunity and what we've been doing. So in September, the Smith family came to us with this generous award of a planning grant to explore the concept and whether it would fit into LPS. And we had an exploration phase where we met with a school team for a couple of times, and we met with our stakeholders and we explored the idea with stakeholders. We've had actually a couple of meetings with stakeholders. We came back, we made some presentations for the senior leadership, and that's when we decided that we felt like this could work for us within our context. Based on our progress, the Smith family also liked what they saw, and they invited us and 3 other programs to apply for the second phase of the implementation grant to pilot the program for SY 21-22. And we submitted that grant application on Monday, and we will hear back in January. If we're approved, we're going to continue to work through this year to prepare for a successful pilot in the fall. We're going to continue working with college partners to agree on program parameters and to figure out how to build this out. We are going to work with you all, hopefully, to approve a modified high school graduation requirement for students who opt into the early college program. Early college promise program. And then we need to confirm student interest and ultimately sign up our first cohort. In this slide, I just wanted to give you an overview here of what it will look like, just a visual. And in the first column, you see our current early college program. And the goal of that program is to have 12 credits by the end of 12th. And right now, of course, we don't have any early college promise students enrolled in college in their first year. Our partners are Salem State and North Shore, as you know, and it's a hybrid model at the high school. For next year, we're looking for those students who are 12th graders now, who by the end of this year will have earned 6 credits in early college with the Salem State classes. We will be looking to check their interest to see if they would be part of the pilot. And the goal would be for them to earn a total of 36 credits by the end of the 13th grade. And that we're looking for about 30 of those students. And our partner for that first year would be Salem State. And it would be a hybrid model through 12th grade. And we just hope that the early college promise program will be on the college campus next year, given the conditions. Our ultimate goal 3 years out is to have our students able to complete 30 credits in high school and 30 credits in the 13th year. So that would mean building up the number of courses that they take in the high school years. And that is really signaling a bigger commitment to early college. And we are hoping that each year in that time period of 3 years out, we have 60 plus students that are part of the early college promise 13th year, and that both of our partners will be involved with that. We've talked to you in the past that we have both of those institutions with us in our designations, and that we're developing career pathways of education, healthcare, IT, and business. And we're hoping that, a number of those students will opt into the program in the 13th year as well. And we are looking at the possibility for students to be on the college campuses when everyone is back to full health and safety in the 12th grade and in the 13th grade. So that hopefully has given you a good overview of the program. I'm going to stop the screen sharing and take questions.
Member Nicholson and Member Satterwhite.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I think the early college is a fantastic opportunity. I think we had made a ton of progress in providing early college opportunities, and for all the reasons we've talked about, and having students earn college credits that they can use, and therefore lowering the cost, introducing them to the higher education process, and it's super important. And this looks like a really opportunity to take it to the next level. And I'm extremely grateful to the team that put this together and is driving this forward. And the timing works out extremely well, like all of you had said. So thank you for that. One question I had was, I think the saving on costs is huge. It makes and is a huge advantage to the program. And so that is definitely a reason why someone would do it. It's still taking a year of their time and life. So we want to make sure that it's sort of delivering the value we think it can. And it's also, like we've said, their introduction to higher education. Hopefully, for those that are interested, they would pursue further opportunities. What kinds of degrees are being offered, and how is that being paired with it and the advising and support, so that we think it's going to actually lead to the kind of job placement or transfer placements that we're looking for?
So I can just state that for the first year, we're working with students who haven't been in our early college program for very long. They will graduate with 6 credits. So it won't look like next year. It won't look like it will look several years from now, when students have kind of followed and chosen a career pathway and they can go into classes that align with that. So what we would be trying to do for these students next year is enroll them in all those gen ed requirements that all students would have to take, so that they can build a good foundation. Because just nationally and here in Massachusetts and in Lynn, we do a good job of getting students to enroll in college, but after that first year, a lot of students drop off. It's a very high percentage, and the main reason about 60% of students say is because of cost. So if we can mitigate that cost and get them through that first year of gen eds, they're well on their way. Well, I want to add one more thing. Part of the plan, we're trying to build in a support of a person on the Salem State campus that will be dedicated to advising those students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. It's funny because the questions that I had written down, I wanted to know the area of study, like Attorney Nicholson did. Like, are we pushing students or trying to recruit students that have interest in education, and we're going to push them towards the Salem State aspect of it, so they possibly can come back to the district? Like, that's what I was thinking. And then when Jared asked that question, I thought that would be at least a good avenue to go. But obviously, we shouldn't exclude students either. It should be open to everyone. But the whole 13th grade doesn't bother me, because I believe that the students are going to have a head start. This is great. Eventually, it's going to lead to 60 credits in associate's degree. And I know North Shore Community College has partnerships with a lot of different four-year colleges where there's guaranteed admissions, and then they don't pay an application fee. So, the added, not only are you receiving this education in high school, but it's setting you up to then go to a four-year school if need be, with those same benefits, because you're going to still be a part of that organization, whether it be Salem State or North Shore Community College. And my second question is it mainly going to be core subjects? It sounds though that's going to be the first couple of years, where it's going to focus English, math, the core subjects, which is great, because a lot of the times when I talk to students that may not have the best grades but want to go to college, I always encourage them to go to a community college to get their core subjects out, so they can get a grasp of what higher education is, because it's not like high school. It's completely opposite. You're paying to go there, and these teachers know that. I'm not going to hold your hand. You're an adult now, so you need to do the work. Well, in high school, did you do the homework? Did you do the homework? You were my teacher, Miss Gardner, so we have that connection. But it's a great program. I read it. It was less, but with more information, and I like that. And I think that this district can. It would change so many lives if you just think about it. You know what I mean? I talk to people about how our district's a hard district. There's many families that live below the federal poverty line, and there's a lot of families that have service jobs. This is the pathway. This is such a tremendous asset that this district could look different in 4 or 5 years. So I'm happy with what was before us. It's a head start. I understand there's a 13th year, but again, you continue to get this added support that other students won't have on the campus, and it's when you have more people cheering you on. Come on, you can't beat that. So it's great. It's great. Has the district considered doing a guidance counselor or a few of them that is specific to the 13th year?
I don't want to defer on the question, but I think that for the first year, because we're looking at a small cohort, we are looking to keep our staff as light as it is, just to be, with that added support on the Salem State campus, because we want to be wise in how we're growing the program. But as it grows, there's going to be a lot of things that we need to take into consideration in terms of supporting the students in the program.
And I think on a smaller scale, we kind of have somewhat of an experience with the Discovery program, how we brought that into the district when it wasn't there before. And, as we went along, we saw where we needed certain manpower and we adjusted. So I'm aligning it with that because it really is a Discovery program, but on a higher level. You know what I mean? So it's great. I hope Dr. Tutwiler and the rest of the administration has an open mind with this particular thing. I did community college before I went to a 4-year school and then law school. I saved a boatload of cash. There's trillions of dollars of student loan debt that hopefully we can help some of these students not have to bear the brunt of. And maybe down the line, there'll be special scholarships for students that go through programs like this. So I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Member Capola, then Member Gately, then Member Castellanos.
Ladies, that was an excellent presentation. I think it's important because many of our students will be first-time students in a college setting and don't have the support at home to guide them along. And so it is a difficult route if you don't know the ropes of applying and all the rest of it. But the one thing I do have, they're saying that it's a 13th year, and we have somebody who's going to be a support on our side of and I think that's what Michael asked in that question. But I'd like to know who's going to be the support. Even if we're starting small with 30 students, I think it says there in the first year, we still need to have somebody on this end because that's what you've told us is that they're the 13th year in our system. And so we can't just push it on to Salem State to have a staff person. We have to have somebody that these kids can report back to. So I'm just wondering, if that piece is going to be worked on. We can't just assume that Salem State's going to do the 13th year. If there still are students on a 13th year, I'd like to see, somebody responsible for it.
The early college office with 2 early college coordinators will be bearing some responsibility on our campus, and we'll be in communication with that person that we have on the Salem State campus. We feel like those 2 staff members, with the fact that our early college program in the high school is still in a growth mode, it's not fully built out to where we want it to be. that we feel like for this year that may be what we need. And we'll just keep looking at that in the planning process.
I might add to that. One of the things I've liked about the application that Lynn Public Schools put together for this grant is that it's a model of tiered supports for this program, and that there are supports that live at the high school campus and at the college campus. But really importantly, Shannon has built out a vision of connecting those supports really intentionally. So that halftime role that would be built out that mostly sit at Salem State would really be an employee of the Lynn Public School. And as someone who would sort of be co-reporting on both sides, bringing together a group that's meeting weekly to talk about the 30 students and reflect on their data and understand who's coming to class, who's not coming to class, who's submitted this assignment, who hasn't, and pulling together the various types of support that we can pull from both campuses.
Thank you. That's a piece that I didn't think to articulate, but currently right now we meet with our college partners, both of them weekly. And basically the coordinators go through the caseloads and just check on how everyone's doing and what communications we have to make, and that would continue. But we would be adding another person from Salem State to that.
Member Gately, thank you. Member Gately.
Thank you. Ms. Gardner, I just have to mention, like Michael mentioned, we spent many years at Lynn English High School working together, talking about supporting our students, helping our students to move ahead, to be successful. And I am just, this is so well thought out and so well planned. And like with the help of the Smiths Foundation, the goal of students to be successful and get an associate's degree from Lynn Public Schools, and especially to have someone there to help those students is commendable. And I'm just thrilled to see that this is happening, even though COVID-19 is not the best right now, like the best scenario. But going forward, we're going to see huge successes. And as Michael said, maybe these students will come back and work in our school system and help us to move everyone forward in the future. So thank you very much for both of your hard work, and I commend you on this.
Member Castellanos.
You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, guys, my iPad's being difficult. So I just want to thank the presentation, Shannon. That was wonderful. And Erica, you guys, this program it hits home for me. Being a first-generation college student, like programs like these, that type of exposure saves lives, and it really promotes the type of student success that we all hope for, like Lorraine mentioned, and my colleagues, just to echo everybody. And you guys really well prepared and answered a lot of my questions, and it's just fabulous. So with Salem State, I know they have, I know there was opt-out features, right? That I saw in the 13th year, but they have other partnerships like Upward Bound program that I think if they choose to opt out at any time, and I don't like to promote like not following through with following through with the program, but are those partnerships, is that something still, are they able to still access that transition point? So are we looking to ensure that safety net? Like, I think that I agree with Member Capola with the safety net. Having that point, that extra support is vital, because if you have a student who is first generation, they're not really used to navigating because you have FAFSA, you have all these different dynamics to it for financial aid. I hope those resources are also going to be added into the process.
Absolutely. That has to be part of the process. I agree.
Thank you. Deputy Superintendent Ruggiero. Then, go ahead.
I just wanted to note that Member Gately and Member Satterwhite mentioned like pathways, mentioning the education pathway at Salem State and having kids come back. And I just wanted Shannon to maybe touch on the early college planning work that we've been doing over the past few years and how the pathways piece is really, we're in the works of getting that planning going and have those pathways available to our students. So I didn't know if you wanted to just touch on that so that they knew exactly the planning you're doing.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, in terms of the pathways, we have health, education, business, and IT. And we had to, use employment data to show that those pathways were viable pathways. And the criteria that we used for education was the number of teachers that we are hiring into the Lynn Public Schools yearly, and our goal to bring our students back once they go through that education pathway and have them be at the top of the list for an interview with us. And we want to foster those students who show an interest in becoming educators all along the way. We have a very strong contingency of current staff and faculty who went through Lynn Public Schools, and we want to really support that. We want to just really support people coming in and giving back to Lynn Public Schools through their profession.
Member Satterwhite, then Member Nicholson.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
I normally say that. Dr. Tutwiler, have these positions that they spoke about, is this under the curriculum department? Are we going to create a separate department for this program? I love that Ms. Gardner's involved with it because, humanities is broad enough that obviously you're studying, the district and what the needs are, and this is exactly what we need. So I love that part, but I just want to make sure that there's support for you, and where is that support falling?
For me?
The question's for you or Kevin. Like, where are these? She's talking about two individuals that are working within the department. Yeah. What department are they in?
Curriculum. The early college coordinators sit in the curriculum department,
and they'll be in the budget book that we got. The onset of those positions were actually funded by the Smith Family Foundation. Geez, that was more than a year ago. Although it feels like many years ago, given what we've been through. I believe they are now on our lines. Kevin will have to keep me honest about that, or Kim.
Some of their salary and the funding for that sits in the titles, and then in appropriations.
And the addition of these two people has made a world of difference. I mean, just all the communication is stronger, and it doesn't all have to come through me, and it's so much better. So I feel like I've gotten a lot of support from our senior leadership in terms of the staffing for early college.
We do envision that we may have to add to the coordinators as this program gets more successful. We originally tried, Shannon and I talked a lot about trying to have 3 of them, 1 for each of the bigger high schools, and that Tech and Tech O'Leary would fall under one of them, and then one would have Lynn English and one would have Lynn Classical. But the funding didn't, allow for that right away. So we got the 2, and hopefully we can build to get 1 more to really support all of the schools.
Obviously, I'd like to, obviously we vote on the budget. We want to make sure that programs like this are funded in a way that they can be successful. So that's why I wanted to know where to look. The only thing that I saw that could have been it just says post-secondary readiness, but I don't know if that's that or not. But I just want to make sure you have the tools and equipment, just like every educator in our district, to be successful in a program like this. And I know we're talking about 2 or 3 years out, but those come very quickly as we can tell. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Nicholson?
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple quick follow-ups. So for students who decide who aren't necessarily interested in doing the 13th year and pursuing that number of credits, they'll still be able to take early college courses in the way that they do now, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other thought, I saw on that list of steps that, getting student feedback, which I think is terrific and a great plan. I think probably the earlier the better, and in terms of getting feedback on what they're interested in and what would be helpful in terms of the supports, and both current students looking prospectively at this program who might be considering for the future, and also, if possible, students that have gone through the early college program that we had is up and running before, who have now done our version of early college before launching this sort of next level, and have also made the transition to higher education and can maybe give us some more feedback on what would have been useful for them in making that transition. And then the last thing, I think I appreciate the discussion of the pathways. I think that's so important, particularly with the goals we have as a district about diversifying our workforce, and also just the mission we have to set our students up for success. And I enjoyed hearing about the work, Ms. Gardner, about collecting feedback from industry and from employers about sort of where the jobs were. I think I just wanted to call attention to the fact that we have a vocational technical school in our district that is skilled at doing work like that, right? Like connected to industry, thinking about how to connect students to jobs. And so it would be great for us to think about that, those pieces working together, right? So people that are interested in pursuing the trades and people who are interested in and who need particular degrees for those trades or particular coursework for those trades, so that it's a set of a district-wide strategy where we're matching needed skills with the provision of those skills in our educational programming.
And I just want to add to your comment that Deb Ruggiero and Carissa Karakitos worked on putting in an entrepreneurship pathway at LBTI. And, with the idea that there are a lot of students who are going into a trade who may, at some point, would really use that knowledge to open their own businesses.
Member Capola? Oh, excuse me, Member Gately, and then Member Capola. I saw Member Gately had her hand raised, and then Member Capola.
I guess I'm used to sitting at this long table and I have the student school committee person right next to me, and sometimes I'll lean over and I'll say to the person, how do you feel about this program? What do you think? But I don't know if she's on or not. I can't tell. But I would like to get some feedback from her on this program, because I believe she's going into college next year, and she has a lot of her fellow students that are probably very nervous about going to college. So I don't know if she's on, but I would love to hear her feedback. But are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry. I've just been having problems with my computer and my Wi-Fi. So the early college program, I took an early college class when I was a freshman, and I think that the program is really nice. I'm right now waiting to get back, hear back from a college, so I don't know what this program has to offer me as a 12th grader going on to graduate. But if this plan with my college does not go through, I would be interested in the 13th grade option. I think it's a really good opportunity for students in the Lynn Public Schools community. I know a lot of people who like taking the early college opportunity programs with North Shore and Salem State.
Thank you for that input. It's very important to us.
Thank you. Member Capola?
That's exactly what I was gonna ask, school committee member, Miss Manny, and what her opinion was. So I appreciate that, Lorraine. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
Is this something, sorry,
Member Satterwhite?
is this something that we have to approve today?
Dr. Tutwiler?
Purely informational today. We've submitted a grant application with the Smith Family Foundation. We'll wait to hear. Should we receive that, we'll come back to you and seek your approval for a shift with the graduation requirements and your input on our plans going forward.
Thank you.
Great. I don't see any other questions. Thank you both for the presentation, and the discussion has been very helpful and engaging. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Shannon.
Let's see. Next on the agenda is new business. Dr. Tutwiler, request for a donation.
Yep, we've got two today this evening, Mayor. The first is a request to accept a private donation of $1,000 to purchase winter coats for the deserving students at Cobbett Elementary. I'm seeking the committee's support for that.
There's a motion. Is there a second? I see a motion from Member Satterwhite.
Motion to accept the private donation of $1,000 to Cobbett Elementary School to purchase winter coats.
Second.
There's also a second. That requires a roll call.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Mr. Polo?
Yes.
Mr. Ford absent, Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Passed.
Dr. Tutwiler, you said there is a second.
Yeah. The next agenda item, request to accept a donation of school supplies from Jason Gonzalez of Staples. As a matter of fact, anytime you've seen Staples and donation in the same agenda item, it's likely because of this gentleman. He's a Lynn English grad, an executive with Staples, very helpful to us back in the spring with getting photocopies of the packets to support at-home learning. What a wonderful young man. And he wants nothing more than to see, students receiving supplies and supporting the schools. Good young man. But in any case, I'm looking for the committee's support for the donation of school supplies from Staples to Druids.
Member Castellanos?
Just small comment. So Jason Gonzalez was actually one of the captains that I looked up to when I played Lynn English football. He has been a role model for a lot of us young kids when I was on my freshman year of football. He's a good man, and as executive director of Staples, giving back. And I really, it's phenomenal. And I see all his work through obviously his philanthropy, and that's very important. I'd make a motion.
Right, I was going to say, would you like to make a motion to accept?
Yes, I make a motion to accept Jason Gonzalez, executive director of Staples donation.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Requires a roll call.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Mr. Polo?
Yes.
Mr. Ford absent, Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Next on the agenda is the FY21 budget update. Dr. Tutwiler, would you like to take that on?
Yeah, I can set the table. The committee received this week a budget book detailing the FY21 budget, $169.8 million budget, which represents a $10.5 million increase over FY20. What I would need to check the history books. This might be the first time that the school committee would be approving a budget 5 months, 5+ months into that fiscal year. But in any case, this is where we find ourselves. What I would propose to the committee is to identify a date, 30 days or more beyond tonight for us to approve the budget. I would welcome any questions from the committee, maybe make the 14th, January 14th, having an agenda item where we could discuss more deeply what's in there. But tonight, the idea is to sort of establish a path forward to approve the FY21 budget.
And thank you, Dr. Tutwiler. And just one point is the final budget in a unique year is on the governor's desk right now for FY21. So it's obviously having it on 5 months late reflects the reality of what we're facing this year in the pandemic and the reality of the financial situation the state has faced. So I think the point's well taken, and there's plenty to look at, and it's an opportunity for the members over the next 30+ days to review the budget. The numbers are better than we anticipated early on. We didn't understand at all what we would be seeing, particularly with the economy falling through the floor early spring. So I don't know if there's a motion or discussion. Motion on the table to take this up on the 14th of January.
And the 14th is just the discussion, not the actual public meeting, right?
That would be on that day. It would be good discussion of the budget.
And
we do need to set, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, Kevin McHugh, we do need to set the date because we have to have 30 days posting to have a public hearing. So I would recommend if we don't do the 14th, we do I believe the 28th is the next scheduled meeting after that we use that as the public hearing date. So, because I need to publish that and get that out so the public has a chance to comment on it as well.
Thank you, Kevin, for that. And that's a good point. So I guess it's up to the committee to decide whether we want to both review and have a public hearing on the 14th, or we would like to review it and then go to the 28th. Is there any implications one way or the other, Kevin?
No, Mr. Mayor, either one's fine. I mean, it'll be kind of like the superintendent says, it's going to be interesting because on probably that 28th, we'll have the new budget for 22 numbers from the governor at the same time. So one last thing I know you mentioned it, and I was actually on a call with Senator Lewis yesterday, and we were kind of going over some of these numbers. And I did send out late today through Mary Jules a document with the Chapter 70 increases for across the state. And you'll see on the attached sheet that Lynn received the largest increase in the state of Massachusetts for Chapter 70 funds. So that's really good for us. And most of it's due to an increase in enrollment. But the next closest district was Lawrence that only received 72. So we're like a little over $6 million more than them. So just to put things in perspective, Lynn has done very well, and we'd like to thank our delegation as well for supporting our school district and getting these type of funds available for us to make things keep the city moving forward.
Thanks, Kevin. I think the point's really well taken. The delegation, I know, worked really hard under trying circumstances in a really challenged budget cycle. I know that they decided to make a withdrawal on the rainy day fund more than was initially anticipated, but it is good news to see that we were able to get the dollars that I know we didn't anticipate earlier in the year.
Right. And one last thing, I also, as part of that document, you'll see we received some of those care funds that needed to use for the reopening of schools. And that's also, from the state as well and the federal government. And the key thing, we received special grants. I attached how we spent those funds. The key thing is we purchased 8,768 laptops, which is really and a total of 11,219 devices for our staff and students, which will allowed us to provide everyone with a one-to-one device. So those additional funds came in huge to allow us to get that. And that also gives a breakdown of some of the other expenses that we utilized. The committee will have a chance to look those funds over, how they were utilized. And those all had to be expended by December 30th, and we're right on track to get all that stuff in and paid, and we'll be within the parameters of those grants as well. So that's another great piece of news to have out there too.
Great. Thank you, Kevin, for that information.
And just had a follow-up question to Pat.
Member Satterwhite?
I know it hasn't been a normal year, but we used to get the forecast to know what the agendas were going to look like, so we could, kind of have an idea of what we're looking forward to. So what is so I have a lot of questions about the budget. I could email it to you and we can do everything on the 14th, or we can have that meeting on the 14th and then approve it on the 28th, but I'm just one member. So I can imagine what other questions are out there. What does the 14th look like for the meeting?
So you're talking about the budget look ahead document that I've done for the past 2 years. I've not taken to doing that this year because I'd be revising it,
I know.
But I do know that on the 14th, I mean, there is a plan to do my evaluation. There's a promise to have to you by the 23rd artifacts, then you'll have a couple of weeks to review those and prep for the evaluation. That's the only thing that I know of on that date. Probably would want to revisit the early college promise if we're invited to participate in that grant. But we've gone long nights before. I'd say you pick a date and we'll do it on that date.
Member Capola?
Is it possible to pick either the 17th or the 21st to just get budget, and we would be able to do the questions as well as have a public meeting on the same day? Well, the 7th is too late.
Mr. Mayor.
People open to that? I know, Mr. Mayor, sometimes you have things on your schedule.
Attorney Myhouse had a question, and then we can go back to your question, Member Capola. Attorney Myhouse?
School committee has to adopt a proposed budget for the purpose of a public hearing before it can announce the public hearing.
It is. So is that what we're doing tonight?
Well, are they adopting this proposed budget that's presented to them for the purpose of a public hearing? Or are they going to have another meeting prior to deciding what proposed budget is going to be the subject of the public hearing?
Member Nicholson, and then we can go back to, so that's why we're trying to determine what would be the best.
Yeah, and just Attorney Myhouse, could we adopt a proposed budget for the purpose of setting down the public hearing and then make modifications subsequent to that based on questions and feedback?
Absolutely. After the public hearing.
Right. So that in the past, I think that's how we've tried to set it up because of the 30-day notice requirement. I mean, I honestly, the suggestion from Ms. Capola cut out a little bit me on the audio, but I think Ms. Capola, were you suggesting maybe have a question and answer meeting on the 7th and then setting down the public hearing for the 14th? Is that what you were saying?
I was suggesting that, so it's not running into each other. But if you think that adopting the budgets, I think what Attorney Michael suggested too is to adopt it now, because we can still make changes after the public hearing.
So would it make sense to adopt it and then set the 14th down for questions and public hearing? Is that, again, I'm open to suggestions.
I think that's a good idea, because we're so far into the process here that I think it's a good idea if we do that.
Member Satterwhite?
My issue is we're going to have questions and we're going to get responses, right? So how if we're reading this and we're confused by it, if we get the answer the same night that we're having the public meeting, there might be people that don't know what the answer is going to be. So I kind of think that that defeats the purpose. We should have a meeting beforehand where we get the answers to our questions, and then we can have public chime in if the answers that we got aren't what they're expecting. But again, I'm just one member. I think that having everything the same night, again, defeats the purpose, because again, we're going to be getting the clarification as to what certain things mean, why there have been adjustments in certain areas, and then we don't we're not really giving the public enough time to consume that and to speak up if need be.
McGately?
I thought that's why Mrs. Capola mentioned having a meeting with our questions on January 7th, and then we'll do the follow-up on January 14th. Is that what we're talking about?
I believe that was changed, but I'd be fine with that as long as we have that additional time.
Yeah, we need.
Member Nicholson?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that makes sense. We, with the evaluation, also with the changing guidelines, start planning for February, we're gonna have plenty to talk about in January. So it seems like that would be wise anyway to hold that night. So I think that makes sense.
So we would be actually establishing a meeting on January 7th. There isn't one scheduled for January 7th. So is that what everyone is talking about, to have a earlier meeting?
Special meeting on the 7th.
A special meeting on the 7th. And then then the question could be to then adopt the budget on the 14th?
Yeah.
But after we do the question.
We would adopt it tonight.
Yep. Yeah, well, we'll adopt it tonight, and then we'll I think, Attorney Myhouse, did you want to comment on that? I saw you were speaking up.
No, you answered my question. So you're going to adopt this proposed budget for the purpose of a public hearing, and have another meeting on the 7th, and then set it down for public hearing, right?
On the 14th. On the 14th. That's what we're talking about, right? So we have a meeting to ask or answer any questions related to the budget. That meeting would be solely for the budget on the 7th, and then the public hearing would be on the 14th after we adopt it tonight. Is that what my understanding is that we're recommending here?
Correct.
That's the proper procedure.
Okay.
Adopt the budget, the proposed budget.
Okay.
For the purpose of a public hearing.
Okay. So, seems like there's consensus here on that. Is there any other comments on it? So maybe at this point, is it appropriate to take a motion to adopt the budget and establish a meeting for the 7th and then the public hearing for the 14th? I'll
make a motion to adopt the budget and post 2 meetings for January 7th to discuss any questions that we have, and post a public meeting for January 14th.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Member Satterwhite and then Member Nicholson, I see you have questions.
I thought, I think that what Attorney Myhouse said, the language would be accept the budget for the purposes of a public meeting. It's a little different than what you said, but I think that's important.
That's correct.
Okay.
Adopt the proposed budget for the purpose of a public hearing.
Okay. So we'll adjust that amendment to utilize those words. Is that okay, Member Capola? Okay. So let's reiterate it one more time so it's clear for the minutes. I don't know. I just think the wording would I think what you propose, Member Capola, is just to add what both Member Satterwhite and Attorney Myhouse just indicated.
Sorry, I can't hear any because it's all breaking up. So if
Member Satterwhite, would you like to clarify what the motion is, and then made from Member Capola?
The motion is to approve the proposed budget for the purposes of the public meeting, which will be scheduled for January 14th, 2021, and we're going to add a special meeting to discuss any questions regarding the budget for January 7th, 2021. That's the motion.
Okay.
I got it.
Attorney Myhouse, that works?
That works.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Member Capola and Member Satterwhite. That's, motion's been made.
Can I just get clarification, because I didn't hear? Did you say for the 7th is for discussion and the 14th, or did you say the 21st, 14th?
7th is for discussion, the 14th is for the public hearing.
I apologize.
That's okay.
all coming.
Do you have that? Do you have that through now? Thumbs up? Okay. Thank you. So that motion has been made and we need a second.
Second.
We have a second. Roll call is required.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola? Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford absent. Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Okay, thank you. And it's not on the agenda, but we did have the meeting, the subcommittee meeting. So Attorney Myhouse, is it, has not been listed on the agenda. Is it appropriate to address the meeting?
I have a revised agenda, Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
which has it listed.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. So that is listed. So that is on the agenda. So we will take up at this point, the subcommittee, subcommittee's work that was addressed earlier today from the subcommittee meeting. And that was Member Castellanos was the chair in the absence of Member Ford.
Mayor,
Yes, yes, Attorney Myhouse?
I'd just like to clarify a mistake that I made at the subcommittee hearing. I misspoke and stated I spoke to the director of the MIAA. I didn't speak to the director. I spoke to Richard Pearson, who is the MIAA Associate Director and the liaison of the District Athletic Committee. I just wanted that to go on the record.
Thank you, Attorney Myhouse. Member Castellanos?
So I would like to just entertain the motion. I know Attorney Nicholson made the motion, and if you want to reiterate, I don't, just in terms of just the language that you used.
Member Nicholson?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe Ms. Jules had taken it down and will correct me if I misremember it, but we had, the motion was to request the Board of Health of the City of Lynn to postpone, to revisit the decision about the athletic season of winter 2020-2021 in light of the December data and upon review of the proposed modifications from the athletic directors and coaches through Dr. Tutwiler.
And I'm going to second that.
There's a motion and seconded. It's in the front of the full committee. Any discussion? Roll call is required.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford absent. Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. That is the final thing on the agenda. Dr. Tutwiler is communication and information. Do you have a report to submit to the committee?
I do. And rather than it's fairly lengthy, I'm going to give you the abridged version and the written version. The full complete version will be posted tomorrow morning, and I can have it emailed as well. I just have a few updates that I want to share. One is with respect to the current context, holiday season. Just to convey to the committee that we continue to be mindful of the amount of stress, in some cases loss, and mental health concerns that exist, not just with our families, but also among our staff. Social emotional learning team is on it. They developed a document with helpful tips and resources that can be used by families, but also staff, and then a calendar with suggestions for healthy activities to engage in, several each day over the course of the winter vacation. And that should be posted shortly. So in short, I just wanted to convey to the committee that we continue to prioritize the mental health and well-being of families and staff. The other thing is, late summer, actually early summer, the committee adopted a resolution wherein there are two recommendations or two commitments that the district is going to make relative to eradicating racism in our schools. The first is a district-wide professional development. I just want to let you know that is moving along in ways that, both impresses and inspires me. We are just about prepared to launch that. It's January 4th. Will be a significant focus of that PD day. We've had trainings for principals in prep, trainings for other school-based leadership, as well as central office leadership in preparation for facilitating the synchronous or live parts of the professional development. And then there's an incredible dossier of asynchronous activities that really dive deep. We're really thrilled with how that's going. And in the document, in the superintendent's report, there's a link to the introductory video that I welcome you to watch. The other part of that resolution dealt with elevating student voice as it relates to addressing issues related to race and equity in the schools, the inclusivity panels, if you will. That work is also moving along right as planned. We've identified mentors in each of the secondary schools. They've been trained. We are in the process of identifying student leaders at each of the schools who engage in this work. It is a framework that was built and the plan is being executed accordingly, and so far so good on that. I just wanted to give you that update. And then finally, as it relates to communication, there are two things that we are finalizing as I speak and will launch in short order. One is a Lynn Public Schools app. As a matter of fact, I think you can get it right now in the Apple Store and will soon be available for Android users as well. And essentially what that is one-stop shopping for Lynn Public Schools families. You have the app on the phone. You'll be able to customize it. If you have a student at Callahan and Breed and Classical, you can, customize the app to provide information from those schools. Schoology will be in there, and various other useful things for families. We're finalizing that. Should be ready soon. And then also, we're shifting to a more robust communication platform called School Messenger. I know folks get phone calls from me. We've used a platform called Blackboard for many years. The new platform will provide us some additional flexibilities and also a customization feature that families can leverage. We're excited about that. Training for that is underway. I think everyone's been trained but me. So I will get trained and we'll launch that in short order as well. That is all. I wish everyone a happy holiday.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tutwiler and Member Sadoway.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Okay, great. And wish everyone a happy holidays as well. Is there any other business or discussion?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holiday.
Happy holidays. Motion to adjourn, someone?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, roll call required.
Roll call to adjourn. Mr. Castellano.
Yes.
Mr. Polo.
Yes.
Mr. Ford absent. Ms. Gately.
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson.
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite.
Yes.
Mayor McGee.
Yes. Thank you all very much.
We just didn't want you to forget that part, that's all.
Good night.
8:30. Have a great George.
Go Patriots.
Go Pats.
Go Pats.
Good night.